Oh, we're gonna have to do a post on Patreon about that. Yeah, we are. So join our
Oh
Patreon
gosh.
by going to
Actually, I do have an
patreon.com/SCV_chat.
episode of the Moosehead Book Club coming to the Patreon as well. Finally,
You finally read some of Albion Seed?
I didn't say I read that book. I read another book. I'm saving that book because I have to reread the whole deadgum thing, and kind of how we talked about this earlier. Sadly, I don't have the time, so I'm reading some shorter books, singular episodes, and trying to get.
Singular.
It's been a long day.
It has been. I just finished with a paper, my first college paper in however many years. But before we get started on that, because that's just so happens to be the topic of tonight's episode, the views and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of the SCV, HGEC, nor any division, brigades, camps, or other subsidiaries. Strictly those of us who are expressing them. And we express Utini.
Ootini!
Yeah.
And squirrels.
Yeah.
And Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. All right, before we get too far off the rails, good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is staying safe. We're having a little bit of chaotic weather coming up. Really quickly, for those who are not in the know, I believe today was the last day to be able to register for meals. Correct me if I'm wrong, Harrison. For the 130, member registration will continue through the reunion. Registration for all ticketed events ends today, June 1st, 2026. So if you have not registered for your national reunion,
you need to now.
yeah, shame on you. Let's go ahead and run through this really quickly. Click on the merchandise, click here to register and pay online. And we
wait, whoa. Go back. Yeah, I have to put you on screen.
Thank you, Harrison.
You're welcome.
Yes, you can still register for some of the ticketed events. So like the Heritage Luncheon, the Battle of Richmond tour, Chaplain's Breakfast, History Luncheon, Awards Luncheon, Metcalf Breakfast. Those are still available, so get it while you still can. Also, remember to check out the merchandise. Ooh, they have a bottle opener and keychain now.
Hank.
A t-shirt. And looks like some more coins. Ooh, that's pretty. Wood magnets. So, yes. Get registered.
Yes.
Because, hello, Charles Ray. Hello, other chat heads. Anyway, so tonight we're just going to go over this paper that I read. I actually sent Harrison some interesting things in the pre-show. I wonder if he's had a chance to pull them up or not.
I have some of them pulled up.
Did you pull up the main one I sent you?
The main one, yeah.
Okay.
I have that. I was going to try to reread a book I did on this. I read years ago on this topic when I was attending the university you were attending, or are attending. But I have not had a chance to, because just like GCB, I left straight from work to get here. Today I didn't have time to change back into my work attire. I worked, changed into my farm attire, and left. So it has been a long day.
Yeah, I was working on the paper as well as division reunion stuff. So completely, it's life is catching up with you boys. But anyway, so in the
that was almost the whole episode. Look around.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm pulling up a document really quickly. Pulling up the Library of Congress's website. So in 1802, a series of, or 1801 into 1802, a series of correspondence was sent from a group of Baptists that met in Danbury, Connecticut, and some parts of New York to Thomas Jefferson about the freedom of religion. And in that letter, or in Jefferson's letter back to them, he pretty much writes, and he brings up the idea that there is a wall, a perpetual wall between, excuse me, um, quote, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Um, and people have taken that and ran it for skew. Now, the paper that I had to write, yes, yes, Harrison, yes, Moose.
No, I was agreeing with you. The
Yeah,
people have misquoted that for years now.
yeah. Well, not at least misquoted, but misinterpreted. Um,
Yeah.
what is out there. And excuse me. Um, one of the, or what, at least what Jefferson is saying, and they tend to throw up the idea that there is a separation between church and state. But if you look at the actual founding documents that our revolutionary ancestors left for us, and you look through history, you look at the debates and things of that nature, don't just take things for state or face value. Then you see something completely different. So the very first thing that we really need to look, Jefferson is when he's talking about thus building a wall of separation between church and state, he's talking about in the First Amendment. The First Amendment states that quote make that referring to Congress that they shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, we have to remember that in the Jeffersonian idea, he's talking about the federal Congress,
Yeah.
not necessarily the state Congress or the state legislatures being able to do that. Jefferson, of course, is famous for writing in 1776 a bill that would later be passed when he would be in Paris, France, as an ambassador, on religious liberty. And if you go on to the Library of Congress's website, the founders' documents, they actually have the Jefferson's papers, Washington's papers, Madison's papers, Hamilton's for what they're worth, Franklin's, Adams, and they're broken up, by author, and they're also broken up chronologically so that you can see either like the colonial period, the Republic period, or the colonial period, the Confederation period, the Constitutional Convention period, Washington's first presidency, all the way through the end of the federal period, or federalism period. And you can see, and be able to compare and contrast their writings. But what I did at least in this paper, is I went and I looked at Jefferson and his writings starting in about 1776. What I didn't realize is that after the after the Continental Congress, after writing the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson returned to his home, Virginia, and began serving in the House of Delegates. While in the House of Delegates, he served on the Committee of Religion. And there were several different groups, Baptist, Presbyterian, so on and so forth, different denominational groups that came forward, and they had addresses and redresses that they wanted the legislature to pick up. One of them being the laws that were passed, repealing of the laws passed by Parliament, establishing the Church of England as the main church for the Commonwealth, or the colony at that time. Well, excuse me, it was a free and independent sovereign state by this point of Virginia. And Jefferson actually began making notes on some of the things that he saw that he did not like. One of the things in there, I'm going to pull up and quote directly. Quote, every person absenting himself from the church or usual place of common prayer to forfeit 20 pounds for every month. Another example in there is that if any person in any stage, play, interlude, shrew, May game, or pageant, jestingly and profanely speaking or using the name of God, of Jesus Christ, or the Holy Ghost, or Trinity, shall forfeit 10 pounds. And you look at that, and you look at some of the other things that are compiled within that list that Parliament passed for the colony of Virginia, but again, the mentioned this time it's the state. You see a list, part of the reasons why we have the First Amendment. Those two right there are, while I don't agree in blaspheming, and I definitely don't agree in making light of the Trinity of God, of the God the Father, God the Son, and the Holy Spirit, any way, shape, or form. That is an infringement on what could be argued as an infringement on a right. The fact that if you do not belong to the state sponsored religion, if you do not attend the state sponsored religion, if you have a book of common prayer besides anything but the English book of common prayer, you'd be fined $20 or 20 pounds. This, that, and the other. Everything, it was essentially forcing the religion of the state upon the individual, which removes the individual sovereignty, the individual's rights, which again we see in the Declaration that we have these certain unalienable rights: the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I would definitely say that following your personal devotions to your deity would be under your pursuit of happiness. So again, we see that within Jefferson. We see Jefferson starting to study that. He makes other notes and drafts. He drafts the first bill. He drafts the second bill. He presents the final copy of it to the House of Delegates and or House of Burgesses. I can't remember, but it's not taken up. Rather, instead, Madison brings it up years later and gets it passed. But continuing on, or continuing back to the original point, the point being that people take that wall of separation and they try to separate it. Biggest evidence that I found against this happened from the world-renowned scientist Benjamin Franklin. Now, of course, a lot of people talk about Benjamin Franklin. They assume that he was a deist. Really, he was started out as a Puritan. And somehow become a Quaker and everything like that in his later life. But he at the Constitutional Convention on June 28, 1781, rose after being recognized by President Washington. And said, quote, "Mr. President, the small progress we have made after 4 or 5 weeks' close attendance and continual sessions reasonings with each other, our different sentiments on almost every question, several of the latest producing as many noes as yeas, is methinks a melancholy proof of the imperfection of the human understanding. We indeed seem to feel our own want of political wisdom, since we have been running about in search of it. We have gone back to ancient history for models of government and examined the different forms of those republics which, having been formed with the seeds of their own dissolutions, now no longer exist. And we have viewed modern states all around Europe, but find none of their constitutions suitable for our own circumstances. In this situation of this assembly, groping it as it were in the dark to find political truth, and scarce able to distinguish it when presented to us, how has it happened, sir, that we have not hitherto once thought of humbly applying to the Father of lights to illuminate our understandings? In the beginning of the contest with Great Britain, we were sensible of danger. We had daily prayer in this room for the divine protection. Our prayers, sirs, were heard, and they were graciously answered. All of us who were engaged in the struggle must have observed frequent instances of superintending providence in our favor. To that kind of providence we owe this happy opportunity for consulting in peace on the means of establishing our future national facility. And have we now forgotten that powerful friend? Or do we imagine that we no longer need his assistance? I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men." So I'm going to pause right there and say that statement right there completely disproves that Benjamin Franklin was a deist. You have to remember the deists believed that God set the world into motion and then completely stepped out. It's the old analogy of the clockmaker. He puts it all together, sets time into motion, and then doesn't touch the clock anymore. But continuing on, and if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire could rise without his aid? We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that except that the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed. Uh, but without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. In other words, that if we do not invoke a blessing of deity upon this, we shall not. Our tower is going to fall. We shall be divided by our little partial local interest. Our projects will be confounded, and we ourselves shall become a reproach, and by word down to future generations. And what is worse, mankind may hereafter, from this unfortunate instance, despair of establishing governments by human wisdom and leave it to chance, war, or conquest. I therefore beg leave to move that henceforth prayers imploring the assistance of heaven and its blessing on our deliberations be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business, and that one or more of the clergy of the city be requested to officiate in that service. Now, it's very interesting that he chose the 127th Psalm to reference that. And it's also divine, I believe, divine providence that this past Wednesday night, my pastor at our church service actually preached on the 127th Psalm. The 127th Psalm is a psalm actually written by Solomon. Of course, if you remember in your biblical history that Solomon is considered the wisest of all of Israel's kings. Why is that, Harrison?
Are you talking about why he was wise?
Yeah.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, God granted him a wish, and he asked for wisdom.
Yes. In fact, last night with my 5-year-old stepdaughter, we had our nightly Bible story, and our Bible story was on that dream. It was a dream that Solomon had after ascending to the kingdom seat of Israel, where God approached him and said, "I'll give you anything. Just ask it." And he said, I am but a child. How can I govern your people? I asked for wisdom that I may govern your people. And God said, I will give you wisdom, and because you're wise enough to ask for wisdom, I will give you more. Paraphrasing, of course. So Solomon, in his wisdom and divine inspiration, wrote this song, "Labor and Prospering with the Lord." And it reads that unless the Lord builds the house, they that labor in it who build it. Unless the Lord builds the house, they that labor. I'm reading like moose tonight. Unless the Lord builds the house, they labor in vain who build it. Unless the Lord guards the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. It is vain for you to rise up early, to sit up late, to eat the bread of sorrows, for he gives his beloved sleep. Behold, children are heritage from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward, like arrows in the hand of a warrior. So are children of one's youth. Happy is the man who has a quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but shall speak with their enemies in the gates. Now, leaving the second half of it out, because that deals more with the family, the building of the family, the biblical family. But on the first thing, we talks about, what the Lord builds. And in this case, what Franklin is saying is much like what my pastor said. If the Lord builds it, he's going to protect it. If he's going to protect it, he's going to provide for it. So again, the founders did have a belief that God and morality plays a part in our governance. It plays a huge part in our governance. In fact, Harrison and I were talking about this earlier, that if indeed there is a there not if indeed, but there are prevailing worldviews. Everything that you view your life through comes through your worldview. We talk about the worldview, at least as culturally, from starting in 1607, some 400 years ago. Our worldview that of our ancestors affect us still to this day, or it's passed down generationally. That all being said, of course, our worldview also depends on our religious upbringing. People who who live in the Western Hemisphere traditionally, at least used to before God was taken out of school, had a more Judeo-Christian ideology. people in the Near East and the Middle East and the Far East, have different ideologies than we do. But as far as a worldview that has changed the world a lot, the Christian worldview is definitely one of them. But again, that's showing that Franklin did have that Christian worldview. Continue on with some other quotes. I'm not going to read that one of Washington. Trying to find it. Closed out of it accidentally. John Jay addressed the New York Convention, December 23rd, 1776. Again, this is he said, "Unite in preparing for a vigorous defense of your country, as if all depended on your own exhortations. And when you have done these things, then rely upon the good providence of Almighty God for success, and full confidence that without His blessing, all our efforts will inevitably fail." And indeed, we do see that. Continuing on, and pivoting a little bit because I'm having a little bit of a brain fart.
Happens to the best of us.
We've talked about the Confederate Constitution, and the differences between the federal Constitution and the Confederate Constitution. One of the big things is in its preamble. Now, and in that episode with Ron Walters and Carl Jones, we talked about how the Confederate Constitution went on and fixed things that we saw was a major difference between, or not major difference, things that we saw as failures between the Constitution of 1787 and what we thought, what our ancestors thought would correct it. We've talked about things like the 6-year term, the line item veto, no internal improvements, and the no need for amendments because they wrote it the first time they wrote it correctly. But one of the big things is in the preamble. The preamble says in the Confederate Constitution, quote, "We the people of the Confederate States, each state acting in its sovereign independent character, in order to form a permanent federal government, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and secure blessing of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, invoking the favor and guidance of Almighty God, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the Confederate States of America." Again, looking back at that principle that Franklin espoused, our Confederate ancestors then went and got and went ahead and put it in there. Again, Psalms 127 that God's going to build this up. Again, we talk about the no need for amendments. It was written in law in the Constitution that freedom of religion was in there. So yeah. So that's it. That's my little tirade on that. Not so much tirade. I just didn't feel like reading the paper, word by word.
I don't blame you. I have to agree.
Translation,
with you.
Moose, your turn.
Yeah. I have to agree with you, and I'm going to try to keep up as best as I can as someone who read about this topic 3 years ago and didn't get off work soon enough to read my own notes on the subject. So I'm going a lot off memory here. And if you know me, that's very dangerous. So I'm hoping Connor can help me fill in the blanks if I do have one.
Nope.
Thank you. But no, I have to agree with you on church and state. When Jefferson said that, a lot of people take out the context of the times he lived in. And you talked about it, Church of England, where the government.
Yeah. Well, I think I want to sum up what you're wanting to say.
Okay.
It was not a freedom from religion. It was freedom for religion.
Yeah. So, like, if you look at the states, and as a Jeffersonian, as someone who, of course, supports the South, who has also read about states' rights, that's the key. That's how the majority of the founders, I believe, wanted that type of government. and it just got tarnished over time. Lincoln. But
Hamilton.
Oh my gosh, Alexander Hamilton can be the trace of a lot of our problems today. But that's a story for another time. But I feel like a lot of our founders wanted it where the states were the main priority of the people.
Right.
The 10th Amendment, all powers not delegated in this document, and of course I'm paraphrasing, are hereby reserved for the states. So you have to think about that as well when it comes to the Constitution. It is a restriction on federal power. It is telling you of your God-given rights. The government does not give you those God-given rights. And someone said it earlier, and I'm going to go back up to it. Michael said it. If you take the church out of the state, the rights then don't become endowed by the creator. It becomes endowed by the state.
Yeah.
And that's not, of course, that's 100% against everything the founders believed.
Yeah.
And,
which
go ahead.
I'm gonna piggyback in there. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I had a discussion board in one of my classrooms about, or this same class last week, about the founding of the Christian right. And in that document, or in my response, I wrote about, I can't remember the two cases off the top of my head. I may can log in and see them. But it was two separate cases that were passed in the 1960s. And it was the cases that removed school-sponsored prayer as well as something else. I can't remember what it is. But essentially, and I even went into AI, not to use on my paper or in my response, but rather to use in, if you want to do something completely creepy, pull up whatever AI you prefer to use and type in, if I were going to do X, Y, and Z, then how would I do that? So like if I were to try and not desecularize, but remove Christianity, how would I do it? And it said, very first thing I would do is stop Engel versus Vital in 1962 and Aberton versus Schempp in 63, which removed Bible readings from school and prayer from school, those two things. It goes and it forced God out of public life, replacing his authority with government's authority. And that's where you were kind of going at, but that's just what popped in my head.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because again, that's the problem. And let me just while I'm talking, just for safety reasons, we're just gonna boom put that right up there.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's why our country is so screwed up right now. Is it because we weren't supposed to, first off, be just one big gigantic country?
Right.
We were supposed to be 13, 50 countries that came together.
49.
Not Hawaii.
No, not West Virginia.
Good point. But we were supposed to be these group of people that did have a common interest, but we also had our own thing. We could focus on Mississippi. Me and Connor, unless something drastic happened, wouldn't have to focus on the national. We would focus on the state because the states would have more power.
Right.
And you look at some of the things that I found when I was reading about this, about the Did America, which I'm going to read this for the show, and it's a great book, Did America Have a Christian Founding? And it points to the fact that if you are someone that is for states' rights, if you are someone that is for limited government, you have to see that the founders knew that religion gave you a case of morality that was essential for this republic to flourish. Without those values, without that morality, we would corrode. Hence what's happening now. And so you hear that again and you think, okay, if we were supposed to have that morality, what would the then more powerful side, the states, be doing? For instance, one of my favorite things I read is states back then, around the founding period, you would have to take a religious test, show you are a person of good character, good judgment, good morals. And they use religion to back that factor up.
Right.
That's a state-sponsored thing right there.
Right, and that's the thing. It's a state thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what Jefferson was kind of referencing in his letter. That was the underlying tone in his letter to the Danbury Baptist. They were, the Danbury Baptists were like, hey, Chief Magistrate, we know you can't do anything, but can you use your power to influence the legislature? And he's like, well, no, I can't. There is a clear separational wall between the federal government and what happens, there. Petition your state government to do it, not this.
And so that's why I think, first off, we are a Christian country. We were supposed to be a Christian country. With the fact that, yes, you could worship freely your Christianity religions, because there's multiple ways to worship there, and you could also worship other religions. But it's that morality. We are not trying to create a godless country. Because, again, what happens if you take that out? There's no morality to hold the republic together.
Right.
It becomes something unimaginable, which is, again, what we have today.
Right, and more than that. I mean, when you sorry, I'm getting weather alerts going off on my phone right now. And again, it's not forcing, or at least in the southern states, it was never forcing my particular beliefs. Believe me, I've got different beliefs than Harrison does on some things. Mm-hmm. Even when it comes to religion. Now, at the end of the day, we both believe in the Apostles' Creed, which is the basic core tenements of Christianity. Off there, that's where it gets a little bit, different. And that's, interpretation and things of that nature. But, it was never a forced thing in the South. The largest Jewish population at the twilight of the 1850s, or the eve of war, so to speak, was in Charleston, South Carolina. The Reformed Jewish, I guess, for a lack of a better term, denomination, but I guess the correct term would be movement, was founded in Charleston, South Carolina. In fact, the Secretary of State of the last Secretary of State of the Confederacy, his father was one of the main congregants pushing it. It's not proven, but it's very possible. One of the first bar mitzvahs of the Reformed belief of the Jewish religion was Judah P. Benjamin. But again, he was never forced to convert to Christianity. He was the first, openly Jewish member of, and still somewhat practicing Jewish member of Congress, elected from the state of Louisiana, which is a highly Catholic state. If you didn't know.
Yeah. Fun fact.
Again, different, just because we had those different ideas, and again, that goes back to the Jefferson idea, is that, yes, you have the freedom to practice whatever you want. But that ultimately freedom of religion is freedom for religion. Because only in my belief, the Christian religion, can you find ultimate freedom.
Yeah, I agree. And
I'm going to let you take us to a commercial break really quickly because I need to pop a refresh.
All right. So we are going to hit a quick commercial break, everybody. And we are going to talk about our sponsors. So let me get everything ready. I'm being bullied by a Stacy, if she's still watching. I've never had a boss bully me on the show before. A new client. But before we kind of get into that juiciness, let's talk about our sponsors. Our first sponsor is, of course, Dr. Chris Cummins. If you know anything about me, I was pretty sick the last couple of weeks. I'm finally on the rebound. And if it wasn't for Dr. Chris Cummins, or if I didn't get any better, I was probably about to go to Dr. Chris Cummins, because he'll make you feel good, treat you some Southern hospitality to the point you're going to want to skip that apple today so you can go see the doctor. Whether it's knee pain, you've fallen off a fence, or maybe you stuck your stick with an eye, go check out Dr. Chris Cummins, MD of Oxford, Mississippi. His new address is 105 Heritage Drive, Suite 111. And just a reminder, he's a lifetime member of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. He's a past surgeon in chief. He knows what makes you feel good, and he'll get you treated. And we cannot thank him enough for sponsoring the show. Next up, of course, is 31st Regiment Engraving. You can see some of those, first off, beautiful earrings. If you are, I was about to say Valentine's Day is coming up, but
No, it's
obviously
well past that.
it's well past that. But
If you're
when you're single for a while, you can't really keep up with this stuff
if
anymore.
your fiance's birthday is next week,
If your fiance's birthday is next week, why don't you give her some Jeff Davis earrings? Of course, he's also doing some bottle engravings. Talked about it many times on the show, but whenever I'm having a bad day or want to remember why I'm fighting, maybe I'm getting protested, maybe I'm getting canceled online again, I go look at this, my ancestors' memorial band, and it keeps me going. You definitely want one of these and all the great products he has to offer. So go check it out at www.31stregengraving.com. Our next up is, of course, Beauregard's Taylor, a family-driven business.
Yes, let me talk about Andrew really quickly.
Yes.
As we've talked about, Andrew has been one of our sponsors since the beginning of the season. Andrew has gotten away from the authentic uniform lines, but has gone more into T-shirts and flags and stuff. I'm going to pull up Andrew's website really quickly. Beauregardstaylor.shop, and I'm going to go ahead and find where I can share my screen. So he has all sorts of wonderful goodies. So again, he's focusing on his flags and stuff like that. But let's just go shop by state and let's click on Mississippi. We see some of the wonderful things he has for Mississippi, including a Jeff Davis and the South sticker or magnet. For the Mexican War, the 1st Mississippi Rifles flag, of course, commanded by Jefferson Davis. The 11th Mississippi, the 3rd Mississippi. Isn't that a pretty flag, Harrison?
Oh, let me put you on the screen real quick.
Harrison, you didn't have me on the screen?
No.
Bad news. Again, starting at the top. Jeff Davis in the South placard. The Mississippi Infantry button, especially if your farm hat gets torn up.
Yeah, I should have bought a lovely hat from Beauregard's Taylor instead of the overpriced hat I got. Oh, check out that 11th Mississippi sticker, just like this one. Yeah. That way, I got a couple to place around, and I got to carry this as I became an alumni of the University of Mississippi.
They have an 11th Mississippi flag.
I already have that. It's a great quality flag. You should get one.
Mississippi coat of arms and so much. But let's also see what other states they've got. Harrison, give me a southern state.
Florida.
They have Florida things, including this really cool, like, don't tread on me alligator thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always loved this Any Fate But Submission flag. I wish it was one of ours. But yeah, Florida. Let's just say that you don't want to go by state. Let's say you want to do by collection. So, American War for Independence.
That's some stuff I'm definitely going to be getting as we count down.
Yeah, especially now that I've joined the SAR or turned in my paperwork for the SAR.
Yeah.
That lovely Fort Moultrie lapel pin, I'll be getting one of those next time I do an order.
Yes.
But again, different things.
Wait, go back up. What is that treason shirt?
Treason is the reason for the season.
That's great.
Andrew Pickens. Pulaski. Let's say you want to just, let's say the revolution doesn't get you. The Southern Republic. Or the Gadsden flag.
Ooh.
We actually have lapel pins like that.
Yes, we do.
But, the several different variations. Also in patch form. And the other thing that I'm really loving.
I saw that.
Native Southerners beware of Yankee influence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As well as his Leviathan on the Potomac. So, yeah. So anyway, go ahead and give him a look-see at his shop, BeauregardTaylor.shop.
And our next sponsor is, of course, the great people at the museum at Market Hall, home of the Confederate Museum since 1899. They're open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Remember, if the flag is out, they are open. Make sure to go also check out their website because they have a great gift shop and they only charge $5 shipping. That is a steal, people. So make sure to go check it out at www.museumatmarkethall.com. Here's some of the stuff they have to offer. They have a cannon. They have an awesome picture of Beauregard that looks maybe a little bit like Larry McCluney, maybe. They have flags, swords, currency, and so much more. Of course, I'm a flag geek. I love seeing new flags. And they are open on Mondays through June. So go check them out. That is awesome. Man, I wish I lived closer by. I want to go again.
I'm going either in December or sometime next spring. No, you can't come.
No, that's why I'm giving you this look, because you already told me I couldn't come. I was just going to get in the back seat. That wasn't even going to be a problem. I want to go see the museum at Market Hall, and you won't let me get in the back seat of your vehicle.
Honeymoon. You don't get to go on the honeymoon.
I'll be quiet.
Quiet as a squirrel.
Quiet as a squirrel. Our next sponsor is the Sam Davis Home and Museum. Go outside, have a creekside picnic, walk through the herb garden, discover a natural trail. And now this is something I want to do. Bring your dog for a game of catch. Visit the 19th century smokehouse, kitchen, slave cabins, and more. Visit the final resting place of Sam Davis, the boyhood hero of the Confederacy, and several family members. You can watch a film about Sam Davis, explore the museum galleries, participate in a scavenger hunt, tour the historic home, and of course, also visit their great gift shop full of souvenirs, homemade and local goods. Pro tip: give yourself at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to fully enjoy your experience. You can learn more about them at www.samdavishome.org. Of course, we couldn't do this without our lovely sponsors and Patreon members because they are helping us in reclaiming the narrative 1 week at a time. So go check us out on Patreon for $2.50 a month. You can feed a moose. That's some general support. Helps us a long way. And for $10 a month, you become a real chat head where you get your own exclusive show, behind-the-scenes content, blogs from Connor, and so much more. We are working on giving you so much more. And of course, also, you get your name scrolling at the end of every episode of SCV Chat. Look around the Confederation, Commander's Comments, and of course, our great friends over at Tennessee Tuesdays. So check that out. And also for $30 a month, you get exclusive merchandise that not even me and Connor, the owners of SCV Chat, will get. And of course, for $80 a month, you can join our great sponsors in helping us with reclaiming the narrative 1 week at a time as we continue to make bigger and better content. Well, bigger.
Yeah,
don't know if it's
about better.
But we want to thank you all, and we'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
There is a place nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost. stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
Boom.
All right, Harrison, you were talking about something.
Oh, great. Let me refine my place. I was talking about how separation of church and state did not really necessarily mean everybody. It meant the federal government, because you got to think of the times that these people came of. GCB talked about it, where the Church of England was they were oppressive. Let's see here. People were fined, jailed, and treated differently on how they even worshiped. And so that separation of church and state meant the federal government, because as I said, the state governments in that period, in the founding period, had a very healthy church and state relationships. Some states even supported churches financially. Some states, as I said, had religious tests for office holders, making sure they were men of good character, good morals, because that's what a republic needs. You can't have a republic if there's no morals. If you give unlimited freedom, people have to be good people of character, good morals. And so that's what I was talking about. James Madison actually talked about this, and he says that many people have stretched the interpretations of the founding fathers with their words more than they would have liked. And again, we talked about it. A lot, or most citizens at that time had a firm belief that rights came from God, certain unalienable rights, not the government. Again, the government could try to take rights away. No. This government can't, because these rights are given by God. So the government can't touch these rights because they are given by something more powerful than the government. And I truly believe that, like you said with Ben Franklin, our government wanted him there because they wanted him in the house we were building, because they knew that would stand the test of time. A lot of people today say you can't have Christianity in government. You can't do this. You can't. Their liberty and a Christian government are always at odds with each other. That's a lie, because again, the founders believe that Christianity supported freedom by teaching moral responsibility and limits on human power. And I couldn't agree more. And I think that's what this all means to me. Again, you can disagree with me. That's fine. But I truly do believe that's where this ends. I'm almost scared to check the private chat.
Nothing in the private chat.
Okay. But at the same time, the founders did not want to force anybody into a belief. Christianity is about choice. You choose to have a relationship with the Father. So they didn't want to force you into belief. The founders understood that genuine faith could not come through government force. Religion was to be protected, not controlled. It's not a way to control the people. It's a way for the people to control the government. And I have to conclude from my time reading this book that America indeed had a Christian founding, and that America indeed was meant to have this Christian moral code in order to survive. And that's why you see so many problems today. That's why you see so much corruption that led to the stronger federal government, a federal government that's overstepped itself so much that we could spend a whole episode talking about it, and we already had a whole war fought for it. But I think that's kind of where I'm going to end my talk here tonight.
Well, it's a good point or a good time because it's 7:55.
Yeah, it's about to be wrapping up.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to wrap up because we have a division reunion this weekend. We need to get to work on.
Yeah, we do. But I hope you guys enjoyed the episode tonight. I enjoyed this because I enjoyed that topic when I was in college. For those who don't know, I spent a bit of time at Liberty before I went back at Ole Miss. Liberty University is a Christian college, so they teach a lot of stuff through a Christian worldview, and the founding generation is no different. And all the documents I read, all the books I've read, have made this belief for me possible, along with all the words our founders have put into the letters. And as Connor said, he looked through the Library of Congress, so did I. And I truly believe this is what we're missing today. I truly believe this is what they wanted for us, a good moral government that follows the Christian moral code. So that's it for tonight. My views and opinions.
Yep.
Thank you all for watching. We will be getting ready to sign off now. So remember to sign up for our Patreon. Remember to share this episode out. We cannot reach the millions of people that we have and continue to do without y'all's help in that regard. We need shares. It's always great to see you guys sharing. And of course, we are reaching more and more people every time you do. So hit that share button. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment, give us a thumbs up.
Join the Patreon. Buy a t-shirt.
Buy a t-shirt. Yes, for now until July 5th, you can buy this wonderful t-shirt that you should be wearing on July 4th. The South was right in 1861 because America was right in 1776 shirt. You can get it for 15% off if you use promo code 250. So I said, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to like and follow if you're one of our Facebook people. And I guess tune in to Tennessee Tuesdays tomorrow. I believe they're having Jeb Smith on, one of our guests back in April, who wrote Defending Dixieland, a great book that I encourage everybody to go read. It's a marvelous book that really helps us have the information ready to defend the South. And of course, Wednesdays, you can check out Look Around Florida. Thursdays, of course, Look Around the Confederation. We are almost caught up on all the news that we missed when I had to take off a couple of weeks of work because of work. So hopefully we can get into that again Thursday. Fridays, you have Friday Night's Life in the Friends to Douglas Southall Freeman Group. Yes, wear the shirt to National Reunion. I want to see a lot of y'all. I'm also going to announce the Moose Mania shirt. I just have to figure out what the proceeds are going to. I'm talking to a couple people about that. And of course, Sunday, Hardy on History. So thank you guys all for watching. And remember, in the words of the late, great Harold Philpott, no fumar
in the elevator.
And rare frop.
Rare frop.
Good night, everybody.